What is up, everybody? Josh Tapp here again, and welcome back to the Lucky Titan. And today we are here with Christina, which I'm going to butcher your last name, Vitagliano. Is that right?
You did pretty good, Vitagliano. The G is silent, but that's really close.
Vitagliano, man.
Yes.
Such a redneck sometimes. So
That's okay.
we're here with Christina. I'm really excited to have her here because she's the founder of Monster Mini Golf. And so for some of you, you're like, what the heck? Why are we doing something over mini golf, right? I was so intrigued by this lady's story. That she's grown her company, from 20 years, she's been growing it to over 30 franchise locations. It's built a really awesome just community around mini golf is what I love. And I love to hear these kind of underdog stories where they really succeed really when they shouldn't have, but it ended up working out. And so I love to hear these stories. So Christina, would you be willing to say what's up to everybody and then we'll hop in?
Hi guys, how are you?
Good.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. So Christina, I want to ask you just to kind of kick this off. Give us the reason why for mini golf, because it's kind of a random niche, right? And a lot of people look at certain products and like, I mean, is this your passion or like what actually brought you into the mini golf world?
No, I mean, not that I don't like mini golf. I like mini golf, but it's not because it was my passion. And people always ask that. They must say, "Oh, you must be a great mini golf player." I'm like, "Holy cow, no." No, it was a business model. So when I was sitting there by myself with no money, wondering how I was going to make money, I thought, well, here are the three things I want to do. I want to have little to no overhead. I want to be able to make money with as little amount of employees as I possibly can. I want to be able to control my concept, and I want to make it fun and affordable for the average family. So when I put all of those together, the only thing that came up was mini golf in my head anyway. So at the time I lived in New England, and if you live in New England and you put that equation together and you get mini golf, your answer is you can only work for about 90 days a year because you're outdoors. Right. And that didn't work either. So I thought to myself, well, I have to work all year round if I want to make a living and eat and things like that. So I brought it indoors. And my background of marketing and nightclub and restaurant management, retail management is how all of this kind of came together into what is now Monster Mini Golf, and it's indoors and it's black light and it's music and it's fun for all ages. And at the end of the day, we sell fun. And at the end of the day, we don't replace any products. We vacuum and we close our doors and we open the next day.
Right.
Which so it's as simple as that. Yeah.
And what a cool, it's cool to see your thought process through that. Most people don't walk us through that. They're like, oh yeah, I chose this product. And you're like, okay, but there has to be some logic behind why you chose it, because
no, there was.
And I love that the way your thought process worked through that, is like you started lifestyle first. Like this is how I want my lifestyle to look. This is how I want a business to look. And then what business model fits around that. I feel like everybody else does it the wrong way. Like, oh, I have this product I'm all excited about. And then they're like, oh, apparently when you're an agency, you have to work a lot, They don't think about these things.
Well, that's only because I did a lot of things wrong before. So it wasn't, I made many, many mistakes prior to that. And that's from, I started this business when I was 40 years old. So, and I've been working since I was 14.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of experience that you've, I worked for other people for most of that time, and that's priceless. I've learned so much from so many bosses along the years. I thank them for who I am today. So yeah, lots to be said for that.
It's funny about that. I can't remember Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. He was talking to some like millennial types, and he was like, stop trying to go so fast. He's like, your 20s are for learning. He's like, do that while working for somebody else. He's like, your 30s are for experimenting and your 40s are for when the wealth comes.
Absolutely.
And I love that, because it's like, if I were to go back and do it again, I would find another company, somebody who's kind of starting off, but they were already pretty successful. And I'd work my way in as the number 2, where I had a guaranteed salary, but I could still play around with the money and figure things out. That's how I would do it. Because it saves you all that time and extra money and everything, but you're learning and getting paid along the way. And then when you step out, it's so easy to just take off because you've got the experience,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Learn
let's
from
get
other
my,
people's mistakes. Yeah.
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 Well, and for you with entering the mini golf realm, right? There's how do I put this? The entertainment industry as a whole is a very hard industry to enter because I mean, it's low ticket offers, right? So very, very low ticket sales.
Yeah.
You're really having to focus on high volume, and it probably comes with a plethora of other challenges I don't even know because I'm not in the industry. But walk us through what were kind of some of those initial hurdles of getting the first store open and working.
Well, the difference is, and before I start this, because I don't want to bore you to death or take too much, how much time do we have?
We have about 20 minutes. That's how long we record for.
Got it. Okay. All right. So when I first started, I had no intention of building a franchise. All I wanted to do was raise $5,000 to edit a book that I had written about 20 years ago. So I went into this completely blind. So the pressure wasn't there.
Right.
But I always want to make money, and I always want to make as much money as I possibly can because, you know, business is business.
Yeah.
And I want to have fun doing it. But I do like to work. So I think that I love the entertainment business. It's not about the low ticket dollar. And to this day, one of my biggest things when we started, and even to this day, 20 years later, is that Monster Mini Golf costs less than the movies. Because that means that when people say, who are you marketing to? We're marketing to every family, every teenager, anybody out there who is the average person that wants to go out and have a decent time and can afford it. Mm-hmm. So mini golf to this day is very affordable. So pretty much anybody can walk in our doors and have a good time. That's a big difference compared to Disneyland, which I love, but big ticket dollar. But at the end of the day, we don't have to replace, we have no cost of goods.
Right.
So what you're saying, it depends. If you have a $10 item and it costs $0 to replace it or 6 cents to replace it, if it's a scorecard, which actually we've replaced with a digital app now, that makes a big difference compared to, you know, a $30 item that costs you, you know, $15 to replace and then everything else. So it's all relative. You just got to know what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and taking those risks and saying, hey, like, I liked how you just kind of threw that in there, but switching from paper to app, you know, and in a case like yours where you have 30 franchises, it's so feasible to say, okay, well, we're spending $20,000, or that's probably way exaggeration, maybe like $2,000 a year on these scorecards. Why don't we just spend $1,000 to build an app that's a very basic app that replaces that, and then we've all of a sudden got an extra $2,000 a year opened up to us.
Sure.
The math always is exciting to me.
That's a huge thing I think about franchising compared to owning a single unit or what we call mom and pop business, is that's the value in franchising. If you communicate with your franchisees and you teach your franchisees to communicate with each other, that's what happens. That's the evolution of a franchise, is you're all talking to each other and everybody's expertise is very, very different. And you put, you know, a bunch of heads together. There's good and bad in that, because you can spend 7 hours talking about the color of an orange golf ball and why it should be green. But you also learn that it might be time to go from an app, you know, to an app from paper too. So all good.
Well, and so walk us through this, because, you know, this is something that I was so curious about when I was looking at your story. Is at what point did you realize that this was a franchisable opportunity? I mean, you're like, because a lot of people look at their business like, oh, this could totally be a franchise, but just because you have one working business doesn't mean it's going to translate well into a duplicatable model.
That's a good question. Because I had no plan. It was based on a fear and threat. So really? One day, in our first 3 months, we opened in a Memorial Day weekend of 2004. And on August, it was a rainy day in August. I'll be as fast as I can. A rainy day in August, it was my friend and myself working at a Monster in our first location. And it was packed. And we were in Northeast Connecticut, a tiny little town, middle of nowhere. And people from Providence were coming in. And the Providence Journal had just done a big article on us on this really cool indoor blacklight place and blah, blah, blah. And I looked up in the crowd, and there were parents with their children all in the crowd. And I could hear the parents talking to each other. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to be very honest, it was mostly the 40-plus-year-old men looking at their wives and saying, this place is a gold mine. This place is a gold mine. And I got scared.
Right.
Because I thought somebody is going to steal my idea.
Right.
So I got to the end of the day and I said to my husband, we have to do something. We either need to open another location or I need to franchise it. He said, what do you know about franchising? I said, nothing, but I know Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's did it. That was it. And back then in 2004 in web world, that's a long, long time ago. So I got online and I laugh now because most people your age probably wouldn't even know what this is. I AltaVisted it and I said, how do you franchise your business? And that was how I started. And I learned and I came up with, there was a company that would teach you how to franchise your business, but you are 100% right. Is that just because you want to franchise doesn't mean you can franchise, because you have to have a certain profit margin because you're sharing that. And those franchisees have to be able to make a certain amount of money because part of it's going to you. And then they have to be able to sustain their own lifestyles. So you go through a lot of things. We're regulated by the FTC. I mean, a million things. And I don't care who you are, what background you came from, you, no matter what business you have, you've never been a franchisor. So those first 3 to 5 years, you are learning. And it just does not matter. You're going to make mistakes and you're developing a franchise business. So there's a big learning curve there. And you develop what type of franchisor you want to be during that time. You know,
Right.
we're 20 years in, and I think the first 10 years, you learn who you are. You learn who you want to become. And I think at 20 years in, going into that pandemic, if we weren't the age we were, made all the difference in the world. We came out of it. We are so fortunate to be who we are coming out of it in the position that we're in. We're up significantly this year. A lot of our competitors didn't survive. It's because of our age. It's because of the franchise that we became together. We're very fortunate.
Yeah, no joke. And that's so cool though, because that journey isn't an easy one, but like you said, it's all about taking those risks. You say, you mentioned it was out of fear, but like that seems to be what most people make these decisions out of. And luckily for you, it ended up working out for you. But what I love about your story, more so than a lot of other stories, is that you weren't, obviously everybody's in it for the money. The math is exciting of business, right? When 1 + 1 can equal 5, it's fun, right? But what's interesting about your story is, right, I didn't have any, what I would call like emotional risk tied to it, right? Because you're like, you know what? I just need to make $5,000, right? That's
absolutely.
And that's just funny to you now, I'm sure, because you're like, hey, I'm probably making significantly more than that.
Never in a million years I realized this. Yeah.
And looking back and saying, wow, like how important $5,000 was to me, I think is just so fun to watch that transition. So let's talk through the community aspect of this, because finding franchisees is another big thing, because you're partnering with people. What people don't realize about franchising is, if you franchise with McDonald's, for example, you're just another number. But smaller franchises like yours, where you are up and coming, I mean, if you hop in on a franchise like this early on, when there's 30 stores or what have you, you really are partnering directly with the franchise owner.
No, you're not partnering. You're marrying.
Yeah.
Worse.
Yeah,
worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
Selling your soul might be another.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. You absolutely are. And there is no lightness to any of it. It is intense. And that's why I said those first, 3, 5, 10 years are a learning curve, because what you think is a good franchisee for your concept, you learn very quickly, might not be, for a lot of reasons, and good and bad, it's not anybody's fault. It's just that learning is learning, and you're learning human emotions. You're learning, personalities and how to figure these people out, and good and bad. I mean, it's not that the people were bad, or it's just that sometimes that's not the right fit. And it takes a long time to figure out, this is what works for my concept or our concept. Might not work for somebody else's, but how do I make this the most successful thing for everyone? Not just me. There's a lot of franchises out there where it's about the franchisor and their bottom line and how do they make as much money as possible. And it just is, because I'm going to be honest. With us, it's a little different. Patrick and myself are we're husband and wife. We still are the only people that own it. And with 30 franchises after 20 years, you know all your franchisees. They know how to find you. So
Right.
you're not in a corporate building. They know exactly how to find you. So we talk to each other,
Yeah.
but it's it's different.
Well, and I want to just kind of transition the conversation a little bit here. And I wasn't actually hugely planning on discussing this too much, but you wrote a book and recently, and where did that come from? Like, what sparked the book? Because it sounded like you were trying to do this 20 years ago as well, and now you're doing another one. So walk
No,
us
this
through
is
that.
the same book.
Oh, same book. There you go.
Yeah. So I wrote the book 20 years ago and then realized I had $0 back then and realized it cost $5,000 really to edit the book. It's a really short version. And then opened Monster Mini Golf, and wow, it consumed my life. And then the pandemic hit and I finally sat down and said, and years, 20 years have gone by and you grow and you learn. So I sat back down during the pandemic. I spent some time editing. Self-publishing is a whole new world, didn't exist 20 years ago.
Right.
And I published a book. So somehow that's how I ended up with you. I know it's like, but again, you're educated over 20 years and the book has come out now. So still Monster Mini Golf consumes my world. So I haven't had even much time to really promote the book as much as I've wanted to, but because Monster is my life right now.
Right.
But I did get to publish it finally, so that's great.
Well, it's fun to do those things. Even, I don't know. I think sometimes it's not even about how much exposure you get to the book or have you. It's about, I did something I've always wanted to do, and maybe one day it becomes this huge book. You never know. Sometimes they just hit.
Well, yeah, the book is a memoir. It was about my life before then. So it's called Every 9 Minutes. And it ended in 1995, which is right, Monster was created in 2004. So 20 years later, a lot of different things have happened, but the book is a very sensitive subject. And at 50 plus years old, you can talk more about things like that with younger people. And it's important. So my goal is to do some public speaking and things like that. It's a big difference.
I love that. You should start a podcast. Totally worth it.
Yeah, my spare time.
For all that extra time you have.
I know.
Great way to enter the speaking realm. Cool. Well, we're coming up to the end of the interview here. So first off, can you let us know where to find your book?
Absolutely. You can find my book on Amazon, obviously, at Every 9 Minutes. You can search it anywhere, but I have my own website. It's 123ChristinaV.com. I'm on all the social media platforms. Same thing, 123 Christina V. And if you want to come to Monster Mini Golf, it's monsterminigolf.com. And we are all over the place and we are just fun for all.
So the big question here though, Christine, is is there one in Idaho?
There's not one in Idaho.
Man, my closest one's probably like Vegas, right? You guys have a huge one in Vegas.
You are. The closest one is Vegas. Yeah, because we're not too far. Actually, honestly, Idaho is not too far from Las Vegas. We have friends in Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we are. We're actually we just signed for Seattle, so we're going to be building one up in Seattle soon. So we're excited about that. Or maybe Denver, Colorado probably isn't too far either. But.
Yeah, Las Vegas is about the same distance. We'll have to get you one here in Idaho.
Yeah, the one in Las Vegas is with the rock group Kiss or Twilight Zone. So those are a little different. Those are a little off the wall.
Yeah, but those are cool. Those are really cool ones.
They are.
So make sure you go check out Christina V. It's 123 Christina V. Love that. Kind of a play on Gary V. It sounds like, because your last name, I mean, hard to pronounce, hard to spell. Lucky for me, my name is 4 letters, so it makes it very easy. Okay, so I want to ask you, could you give us one final parting piece of guidance for our audience?
Yeah, be strong, be humble, take chances. That's it.